watching the Battered Fans Network.
Welcome to episode number 1 of the Battered Heat Fans podcast. I am your host, Daniel Ganan, and alongside me, I got Mr. Daniel Solana. How are you doing, sir?
Doing great. I'm doing great. Usually we're talking football, Danny, but the Heat season is about to get started. And after a disappointing season last season, I think it's only right for us to begin this new season with a new Battered Heat Fans. And what way to start it off than the season preview? I'm glad to do this with you, Danny. Let's do this.
Yeah, absolutely. And this isn't the first time we do this, like you said, but it's a new look because it's a new era. The end of the Jimmy era, it's official, right? Even though it ended in February, the end of the last season, that disaster against Cleveland, that was the end. So just a couple words. How would you grade the Jimmy era?
I think it was an A minus, right? An A minus. They reached 2 finals with Jimmy. Unfortunately, they couldn't come away with a championship. But I think it was an A minus because of how, what the Heat achieved during that era. And then I would say it's an absolute F minus at the end of it, right? The way that it ended, it was just absolutely brutal. Not only for the team, but for Jimmy as well, because Jimmy is known for doing those types of things. He did it in Philadelphia. He did it in Minnesota. But I'm sure, Jimmy didn't want to go through what he went through to get traded. So I think for both player and for team, it was just an F minus on the way that it ended last year.
What was more fun, that era or the Big Three era? And I only asked that because it's obvious, right? The Big Three era, you had the 2 titles, and the 4 NBA Finals appearances. So I get why it's obvious, but because this team, nobody ever predicted. I don't think any of those 2 finals runs, and then maybe that year that they made it to these conference finals where Jimmy had the chance to hit that 3 to go to another final. Nobody really predicted this team to make those runs, at least not at the beginning of those seasons. So I feel like those playoff runs might have been just a little more fun than the Big Three era.
Look, man, I don't think anything is going to top the Big Three era simply for the fact that you were going to every single game already knowing that you were going to win, or with 85% possibility that you were going to win. And you were, I remember taking the car rides with my brother, who's actually now the Heat pregame host, and we would talk about, we would go into the games and it was like, all right, how much are we going to win by the night? 20, 25? Are we going to get to see the bench for a long time? Are we not? So those were the conversations we were having with this team. With the Jimmy team, it was a little bit more frustrating because the games were closer. It wasn't always a, yes, we're going to win tonight. How many are we going to win by? It was more of a scratch and claw. But I think obviously the outcome, the fact that they went to those 2 finals, and one of them as an 8 seed, Danny, if you remember.
Yeah. Second team to ever do that. Yeah.
I think, it was more frustrating in times, but it was equally as fun.
Yeah, and then just to put a bow on this, I think overall the 4 years for the Big Three were better just because they took the regular season serious. It was frustrating, the Jimmy experience, because you knew that the regular season he just wasn't playing as hard as he did once the playoffs came on. That's why they dubbed him Playoff Jimmy, and you kind of wished you could have seen that during the regular season. But that era is over. New era begins. I don't even know what to dub this era because you can't call it the BAM era, but we'll see what they dub it. But the offseason started not as eventful as people hoped, right? It started with, are they going to get Kevin Durant? Are they going to get Kevin Durant? They don't want to trade away Khalil Ware, and I guess we could touch on that in a second. But the offseason, basically, to sum it up, we drafted Casper. We signed, we got Norman Powell. We traded for Norman Powell, which I think is an underrated move because I feel like not enough people are talking about that outside of Miami. What did you think about the offseason in general?
It was quiet, Danny. It was quiet. Obviously, the Heat are known for trying to get whales every offseason. They did it with the Big Three era. They do. But when they hit, this team performs, right? And there's a lot of noise around this team for the 2027 offseason. There's noise around the fact that there's going to be a lot of free agents that season. So the Heat are gearing up for that summer, which is frustrating to hear as a Heat fan, right? Because you want the team to gear up for every single season. But look, I went to the first preseason game. I think this is going to be a fun year. It's going to be very frustrating. There's going to be a lot of growing pains because we have a lot of young players. But I think the offseason was quiet, right? Was quiet. I think just like you said, I'm going to echo your sentiment on Norman Powell. I think he's going to be a X factor for this team. I think he's going to be a fantastic player. They also picked up Simone Fontecchio via trade. And I think he's going to provide a similar role to what Duncan Robinson did for this team. But I think he's actually a little bit more athletic than Duncan Robinson, right? I think he can drive the ball, not only just shoot the three-pointer, he can defend a little bit better. So I think he's going to be a great addition as well. And you mentioned Kasparis Yakuchonis, the rookie. I think he's going to be fantastic, Danny. He's going to be fantastic. He's great defensively. He loves to attack the paint. He has great vision on the offensive side of the court. So I think that the Heat, while it was a quiet summer, I think they were very, very instrumental in picking up key pieces to what this team is going to need this season.
Just to touch on the 2027 that you mentioned earlier, I think if they end up getting a big whale like Giannis or Jokic, like people are hoping, that happened before 2027. It's become, in this new era, players don't really reach free agency anymore just because of the bird rights and the supermax that they can get. They go ahead and they sign those extensions and then they force their way out. So if they're going to get that, I don't think we're going to have to wait till 2027. They're just going to have the assets to trade for those players when the time comes. All right.
Absolutely.
So Casper, let's start with him. I was excited when we drafted him. He fell to 20, which nobody expected. They thought that he would be a late lottery pick. So you take that and then you take the gamble. But in the summer league, it felt like he just could not connect. He couldn't connect the pass to a teammate. It was turnover after turnover. Then we finally got to see him in the preseason, and was it 10 assists in the one game that he really played? He looked really good that one game. He made Khalil Ware look good. I can't wait to see him with Bam, because this is the first true point guard that they have since Kyle Lowry that can go ahead and provide baskets for Bam and Ware rolling to the basket. What are your expectations on Casper? Because at the moment he's injured, I don't know if he's going to be available for the start of the season. And I really don't know how many minutes he's going to be given right off the bat. I feel like it's a similar conversation to what we had with Khalil Ware last year, where we're like, well, I don't know how many minutes he's going to get. And towards the end of the season, he's finally started getting consistent minutes.
Yeah, well, the Heat are pretty deep at the guard position, right? You have Davion Mitchell. You've got Tyler Hero, who's injured, but when he's back, he'll be there. You've got Norman Powell. You've got Terry Rozier, who got some minutes last night versus Memphis.
But those minutes look so bad.
They did, but you know, the point is that they're deep. So how many minutes is Spo gonna give Kasparis this season? And I think it's going to be similar to what we saw with Khalil Ware last year, right? Where he didn't start the season. He got, limited minutes at the beginning of the season, and then he started getting worked into the rotation and finally earned a starting spot. Now, I don't know if Kasparis is going to earn a starting spot because, like I said, you've got Davion Mitchell, you've got Tyler Hero coming back. But I do think that he could play some important minutes for this team in a playoff stretch, or in a stretch to the playoffs towards the end of the season, because like I said, I think he is a above average defender and a very, very good facilitator on the offensive end. And I think, like you said, that's exactly what this team needs. Somebody who can organize the team on the offensive end, who can dish out those assists, and a point guard that can play a 1-5 or a 1-4 pick and roll with either Bam or Khalil Ware. I mean, that's unbelievable.
And I think that another thing about Casper that has people excited is that I feel like, maybe it's because he's white, but I feel like these comparisons of Casper and the Dragon are coming in hot. And if he can be half of the player that Dragic was, then with the 20th pick, you cooked up something nice. And it's fun to imagine what he could be. But kind of like last year with Thomas Bryant, your favorite. I hated Thomas Bryant. I don't, but I guess since your son met him, you liked him. I don't know. I couldn't stand the guy, but I knew that Khalil was going to have a hard time getting minutes. But then what they do, they shipped off Thomas Bryant. So maybe we see something similar. Terry Rozier maybe finds his way out the door or something like that. Somebody gets injured. I think that even in these early parts where we barely seen Casper play, I already think that he might be one of the best ball handlers, if not the best ball handler on the team.
Absolutely. He's definitely a really good ball handler, but the Heat has a lot of very good ball handlers on the team. So I don't know if I would put him up there at the top, but he's very good, and I think he's going to have a fantastic rookie season for the Heat as long as he can stay healthy and Spo gives him minutes in the rotation. I also forgot to mention that the Heat have Drew Smith, who got injured last season, but who looked pretty good in the preseason. And he can hit the corner three. He can facilitate as well. I just think he's a little bit slower than Kasparis, but he does have a bigger frame. So I think that's why he'll probably get minutes ahead of Kasparis. He's also been in the Heat organization for a few years now, so he understands what Spo wants and he understands what this offense entails.
Right. All right. Well, I think the biggest revelation over the summer was Khalil Ware. Eric Spoelstra, I feel like he's gone harder on Khalil Ware than I've ever seen him go on anybody in the media, at least recently. A lot of people drawing comparisons to Hassan Whiteside with his maybe lackadaisical way of going about playing or just his attitude in general. But Spo lit a fire under his ass, and every time that he seems to do that, Khalil Ware ends up showing up and showing out. But I don't think that we can count on Spo lighting that fire every day. What do you think of Khalil Ware? What do you expect from him this year?
Look, a lot of people say that they're scared that he's going to have a sophomore year slump, similar to what we saw with Jaime Jaquez last year, right? Mm-hmm. But everything that he's showing in this preseason, Danny, is telling us the opposite. I mean, he's a double-double machine. Last night he had a double-double midway through the third quarter. He offers exactly what this team needs in the middle there next to Bam because he stretches the floor. He can hit the three ball from all over the place. He's great at the rim, deterring the rim. So that gives Bam a little bit of rest on the defensive end and allows him to not have to guard the rim and can go out and guard players and switch on certain players. So, look, I as long as he doesn't have a sophomore slump, which I don't think he's going to, I mean, the Heat continue to show that although they've fumbled on picks in the past, over the last few years, they've done a fantastic job in the draft. Yeah.
Yeah. You got Jovic, Jaime, Khalil Ware. I mean, they've been doing a really good job. And the team's looking young. Could you imagine a little pick and roll between Casper and Ware? Maybe shades of I don't know. Let me not go there just quite yet.
Tim Hardaway, Alonzo Mourning. Was that where you were going to go?
There you go. Yeah, that's where I was going. Yeah, sure. All right. Jovic got the contract. Do you think that means he's a shoo-in to be a starter?
No. I don't think it is because we've seen the Heat give contracts before to other players and they didn't start a la Duncan Robinson, right? He came off of the bench. He was making – yes, this is a little bit more than what Duncan Robinson signed. This
is a potential contract because he hasn't – I don't think he – and no disrespect to him because he's looked much better, but I don't think he earned it. I think it's what you think he's going to become because he hasn't – that was a bigger contract than I expected.
Absolutely. I think the Heat are banking on his potential. I think they love the fact that he has the size. He can stretch the floor. He can put the ball on the floor. He is very aggressive on both ends of the floor. So I think the Heat have a lot of hope for Jovic, and I think that Nikola is hopefully going to perform. He had a very good summer, a very strong summer. With his national team in the Euro basket, and he's had some interesting stretches this preseason. But if he can, his issue, Danny, has always been consistency, right? We've seen the flashes. We've seen how he can go from one side of the floor to the other side of the floor in 3 seconds, 4 seconds. He's quick. He can get to the rim. His problem is connecting it all together and being consistent with that over long stretches. Because we know that every player is going to go through some sort of, slump in the season. The important part is making those slumps shorter and shorter. For Nikola, they've become longer and longer. So let's see if this second season or this third season with the Heat, if he can change something up.
Jaime, I thought looked really good in the preseason so far. He's been looking really good handling the ball. I think that he might be somebody that handles the ball and brings the ball up in certain rotations and certain rotations. Your thoughts on Jaime, because last year was definitely an off year compared to what we saw his rookie year.
I really love what I see from Jaime in the preseason. I think he worked a lot on his post-up game. He worked a lot on his driving over the summer, and you can
saw him
see it.
finish on Wemby.
I did,
Yeah.
and you can see that now in the preseason. It's translating from all the work he put into the summer into the preseason. You see him with certain moves down in the post. You see him trying to get the ball in the post more, and I like that because he's got a lot of size. For his position, he's a big guy for his position, and I think he's going to be a key part in this second unit for the Heat. We've seen him, be the primary ball handler for the Heat in the second unit so far this preseason. And I think Spo is entrusting him with having a very, very good third year. And look, he looks a little lighter too with he cut his locks a little bit, so he looks a little lighter. So I think that's going to help him out as well.
Hey, this team, I feel like this team's success, and we're going to get into expectations and predictions in a minute, but so much of it relies on these X factors, these Jaime Jaquez kind of taking the next step, Khalil Ware taking the next step. But for this person right here, it's not taking the next step. It's just performing a little better. Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins, I think, is a major X factor. He's such an enigma to me. The first overall pick just never really lived up to it, but just he was never terrible either. So he's managed to stay around in the NBA. He's very athletic, good defensively. If he can just go ahead and hit a consistent 3-point shot, stop taking contested shots, I think his athleticism for what Spoelstra wants to be a more up-tempo team, Andrew Wiggins can be that finisher and that pace handler. I don't know what to expect from Andrew Wiggins, though, because I just don't – there's something about him. I just don't see how he fits. What do you think about Andrew Wiggins?
Look, I think the key with Andrew Wiggins, and I agree, I don't think he fits either. I think he's going to be key defensively, but offensively, it just doesn't – it looks stagnant when he's on the floor. He looks a little slow when he attacks the paint. But I think with him, it's going to be important for him to find his three-point shot. I think when he's hitting that corner three and he's going to be attacking the gaps, I think it can unlock lineups when he plays together with Hero and Powell, because I think that's going to allow Hero and Powell to get a lot more space when he's able to, to hit the three-pointers. That's why it's going to be so important for him to be effective behind the three-point arc. But
he's never shot 40%. His three-point percentage last year was 36%.
Hey, it's better than some other players, but I agree. He's going to have to pick it up this year. We've seen him take some threes and make some threes in the preseason. But again, I don't see how he really fits in this team. And I assume that the Heat are going to look to trade him sometime this season.
Yeah, I don't know if he finished the season with us either. All right, so let's get down real quick. I just threw Davion Mitchell in here just because I like Davion Mitchell so much. I love that he wore his own jersey during the offseason, and he's just a pit bull. Not too much to say about him. I think he has the backup point guard role. I think he is a pit bull, and I'm just a big Davion Mitchell fan. So I don't know if you want to add to Davion Mitchell.
I love Davion Mitchell, man. That guy screams culture.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
That's what the Heat are about. So I love Davion Mitchell.
Yeah.
I want him on my team every year.
Yeah, me too. All right, so let's end it here. Bam Adebayo. I think I've given up waiting for him to become the superstar. I think he is a great player, but I don't think I don't think he's ever going to make that superstar leap like I was hoping. I always, when we've done this before the last couple of seasons, and I said this is the season that he needs to take that step. This is the season he's not going to take that step. I've now come to realize he's not going to. That doesn't mean he's not an all-star. I still think he's the best defender in the league, but I just don't see it. What do you expect from Bam this season?
I have no expectations with Bam, right? I think we've seen him in a different amount of lineups where, he's the 5, he's the 4, alongside Khalil Ware. And we haven't seen much of a difference, right? The only thing that I've seen is he's taking a lot of threes this preseason. He's not making a lot of them, but he's taking a lot of them. In the practice time, the shoot around before the game where they're practicing, he makes a lot of them. If he can add that facet to his game this season, that is going to help not only his game, but it's going to help the team immensely because that's going to open the floor for them to now drive the ball. And it allows Khalil Ware to not have to hang out by the three-point line, and it makes Khalil Ware a bigger factor within the paint. And we've seen that during the preseason as well. So I think for Bam, the key to him is going to be, stretching the floor, is going to be, hitting his shots, playing good defense, and being the leader that this team needs, because that was one of the things that happened last year. Last year, Jimmy Butler was the quote unquote leader. Bam, was the second leader, I guess, of the team. Now there's no Jimmy. Now it's clear cut who the leader of this team is, who the captain is, and that's Bam Adebayo. And so I think his role this season is going to be keeping the team in line, and playing maybe that Udonis Haslem role in terms of being a captain, but while also, getting his double doubles and hopefully averaging, 20 points, 10 rebounds.
Yeah, last year he dipped down. This is the lowest. That was his lowest average since 2020, 2021. He averaged only 18.1 points a game, but he did take 2.8 3-pointers. He almost attempted 3-pointers, 3-3-pointers a game, which he probably should be more than that. But he shot 36% like Andrew Wiggins. So I'm okay with him taking more threes, but it almost feels like every season he gets further and further from the basket, right? He was the mid-range assassin for a while, and now he's dropping back further, getting threes. I wish he would get more shots at the basket. But let's move on to Mr. Tyler Hero, the last player we're going to talk about. He's out for the first couple weeks. He says he'll be back in November. Most people think December. Your thoughts on Tyler Hero? At one point I thought that he could be the Miami's version of Devin Booker. I don't know if he's going to be that, but your thoughts on Tyler Hero?
I mean, that's a really good comparison, right? He plays a similar game to Booker. They both hit the three-pointer. They can both drive and dish. And they're both not that great defensively. So
but underrated rebounders.
Absolutely. I mean, both of them are very good rebounders for their size. Look, the thing with Hero is, he had that ankle injury or that foot injury. He had that surgery. So I know we've seen him on the bench during the preseason, in street clothes. He's been walking around. He's been practicing. But I think you got to work him in slowly, right? I think you got to work him in slowly into this lineup, maybe bring him off the bench for a little bit. But I think if he can get back to his game, he's going to make a really good 1-2 punch with Norman Powell. I think you'll see when he's back and 100% healthy and in the starting lineup, you'll see him start next to Norman Powell in a good 1-2 punch. I
don't love Tyler Hero on the ball, though. I like seeing him off ball, but I think with Norman Powell, he's going to be forced to be on ball because we've seen Norman Powell's going to be playing off ball. He's going to be the shooting guard.
That's fine. I don't mind Hero on the ball because you also have in that lineup Wiggins who can be on the ball, Bam can be on the ball. So Hero can play off, and we've seen them run a few packages where Khalil Ware becomes the sole focus of the play and he becomes a distributor. So look, I'm not worried about who's going to be on the ball. What I love is the fact that Norman Powell can hit the three, Norman Powell can drive, and that's going to open up the floor for Tyler. And Tyler can do the same and open up the floor for his other teammates. So I think once he comes back and once he's 100%, he's going to be a key factor for this team. I see him having another all-star year. And look, the Heat are in an interesting position, Danny, this year because a lot of teams are underrating them because they didn't go out and get that big whale. They don't have a superstar on their team. They don't have multiple superstars like other teams do, but they could be the dark horse in this Eastern Conference where there's no Jason Tatum this year. Now the Philadelphia 76ers announced that Paul George is not going to be here. Who are you going to mention?
Tyrese Halliburton out for the
That's
year
right.
also.
Also, so the East is
The
wide
Knicks,
open,
the
and there
Knicks
could
are
be a
the team
dark
to
horse.
beat, unfortunately.
I know, man. That's so annoying. So annoying, man. So
The
annoying.
Knicks are the team to beat in the Eastern Conference, which I can't believe I even said that, but yeah.
We're not going to
The
bring
Knicks,
Chris onto the show, right?
no, absolutely not. F that
Okay.
guy. So, but yeah, the Knicks are. I mean, if we're gonna be just straight up and honest, I mean, they are the team to beat in the East right now, which sucks. But we went over the roster, starting lineup for opening night. I think that you're gonna see something like this. I don't think Khalil Ware is gonna start with Bam to start off the season. I think they're gonna. We didn't see it enough in the preseason. I think they're gonna put it. They're gonna play them together at moments throughout the first couple of weeks. You know how the Heat do it, right? The first 20 games is kind of where they, after the first, they take a step back, reevaluate, and then proceed as necessary. What do you think we're going to see to start the season?
I think we're going to see Khalil Ware in the game.
You think so? With
Next to
Bam?
Bam Adebayo. That's what we've seen over the last couple games in the preseason. And I think
Jovic was out because of his back.
I understand that, but we'll see if he's going to be back for opening night. And we'll see what happens. But I think we'll see, Khalil Ware in there. I think he's earned a starting spot, Danny. I think he's played good enough this preseason against.
You think we'll see something like this?
Exactly.
With Khalil Ware, Bam, Wiggins, Davion Mitchell, and Norman Powell?
Absolutely. By the way, that court is really cool. The Heat should hit you up and do their court that way.
That would be a really cool Vice City court, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm going to share this.
And
I'm going to share this with my brother.
Well, I love that they're bringing back the black Vice City jerseys.
Me too. I like that they're.
Those.
I love the Vice City, theme, and I love the fact that they do it. And I wish they could do different iterations, but they've done everything that they can with those jerseys. So I mean, maybe they could do some other things, but
no, that fifth one that they did, I wasn't a huge fan of. That was like a baby blue, and it like faded into pink, and I think that was the only one that I wasn't a huge fan of. But of the four, the white, the black, the pink, and the baby blue, which one was your favorite?
I think the pink one was my favorite.
Really? And that's the one they wore the least, because that's when they did the earned it, right? They gave the special jersey to every team that made the playoffs the year before, and they only wore it like once or twice. I wish they would have gotten a full season out of that one. My favorite is the baby blue. I love the baby blue look. That was Jimmy's first year, the COVID year, but I love that baby blue jersey. All right, when Tyler comes back. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I guess I'll tell you what I did here. I think that eventually, to end the season, we'll see Casper in the starting line. I think eventually it gets there. But if it gets there, do you play Norman at the 3 and Tyler at the 2?
Oof, that's such a tough question. I don't think it's gonna get there, Danny. I don't think Kasparis is gonna end up starting.
If this team underperforms, I think it gets here. I think they trade away Wiggins, and they might trade away Norman Powell also if they underperform. Because if this team ends up underperforming, and you're like, you know what, we're not gonna make the playoffs, I think Casper eventually works his way into the starting lineup.
I mean, obviously, if they have a very terrible first half of the season and they end up trading away and going young. Then yeah, I could see something like this happening, but I don't know. I don't want to think about that right now.
Understood. Hey, I don't blame you. All right. So to start the season, they ended up having a really rough start. Now we said, and most people know, right? Pat Riley and the Heat first 20 games, that's when they assess. By pure coincidence, the 20th game is the last game of November. So by the end of November, you'll have a pretty decent idea of what this team will be. But when you look at this, look at the way that they're starting the season. They're starting on the road against Orlando, which is predicted to be one of the top teams in the East, in the weak East. Then they go against Memphis in Memphis. And then their first home game, I don't know why they would do this to the Heat. Their first home game is against the New York Knicks. So you know that stadium is going to be split 50-50.
60-40 for New York, man. That's how it's been lately.
It's brutal. Yeah, especially since they're doing well, right? So they're really all showing up. So you got this, then you have Charlotte at home, and then you go away to San Antonio with Wemby, and I don't know if Fox is healthy and all of them. Then it's a West Coast trip. You literally have the 5th game of the season starts the West Coast trip where you go to San Antonio, then the Lakers and the Clippers back to back, and then Denver before you come back home. This is a brutal schedule. You have Cleveland back to back here at home, then you go to New York to play the Knicks, then you come and you host them again, then you have Golden State at home. You got Philadelphia, Dallas, Milwaukee. You end the 20th game with Detroit. This is a brutal way to start the season. Your thoughts on the schedule, at least to start off the season?
I'm actually relieved, man. I'd rather go through all these tough games at the beginning of the season when you're expected to make mistakes, you're expected to be learning, and so you set yourself up for success by grinding through these tough games at the beginning of the season to the end of the season, where you want to be facing the weaker teams to improve your playoff seeding, to look at different rotations as you head into the playoffs. And so I'm actually a little bit relieved that they're starting this way. I will tell you that the stadium will be rocking on Sunday, the 26th, when the Knicks come in town. I'm taking my son to make sure that I don't get in any trouble. Yeah, man. Can I tell you the one thing I hate about basketball is that and I guess it's not just basketball, it's also football. It's really any sport other than soccer, is that they allow the away fans to sit with the diehard, because I would consider myself a diehard fan. Mind you, I've had my season tickets 24 seasons.
Yeah.
So I've been sitting in my current seats for about 20 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how many times the fans that have tickets around me sell their tickets to opposing team fans. They sit there and they come and they try to, they try to, just haggle you or talk crap to you and all that. I can't tell you how much I can't stand that. And the fact that they allow that is just, I don't know, it's preposterous. I wish we would do something like the Clippers and do something like they did, like with that wall.
Yeah,
where it's the diehard fans.
Yeah, it looks really cool too. It looks almost like they're coming on, like not onto the court, but they pop out. Like, it's really cool. I don't know what they did architecturally, but it looks really cool. It's a really cool look. All right, so you like it? I don't. The first the first 8 games, 6 of them are on the road. Of the first 15 games, 11 of them are against playoff teams from last year. I don't remember them having a start to a season like this in a very long time. But I will tell you, the one positive that I see out of this is that if they make it through this, the 20 games, if they end up 10-10 through the first 20 games, I think you feel pretty freaking good about yourself, because the schedule will eventually lighten up. And if you were able to get through this, probably without Tyler Hero for the majority of it, if not all of it, all of a sudden you start feeling pretty good about your chances. And that means somebody must be showing up and showing out.
Absolutely. There's no doubt. But we'll see what happens. 10-10. If you tell me right now they're going to be 10-10, I'll take it, man. I'll take it.
Me too. After the first 20, I'll take it also. My fear is that they don't end up 10-10 and they end up like, I don't know, 6-14, 7-13. And all of a sudden it feels like the world is crashing down. Erik Spoelstra, Team USA. I think that this is going to be his biggest test, right? I think people consider him the best coach in the NBA now. Greg Popovich is gone. I think everybody, whenever you say best coach in the NBA, I think the consensus is, for the majority of people, Erik Spoelstra.
It's not Joe Mazzulla?
No. I can't stand that guy. Well, I don't know what it is about him and the way he looks in his press conferences, but I just can't stand him. Is it that he I don't know. There's something. But Erik Spoelstra, I think, hands down the best coach in the league. But this is where you kind of earn that title, right? You kind of earn it, and you show that you do the most. And he's shown it already, right? But some people are like, oh, but Jimmy carried them. Obviously, the big three carried them. Like, this is back to that season. What year was it? Was it 16-17? Where they started 11-30 and ended up 41-41 anyway. They started 11-30 and then they ended the season 30-11. which was crazy. It's one of those jobs, right? Eric Spoelstra really needs to come out. He's going to have them playing good defense, but I think that this is where Eric Spoelstra really proves that he is the best coach in the league. And I would never bet against Spo. I think that he's going to get the most out of this team. So with that said, what are your expectations for this Heat team this season? Are you expecting a top 6 finish? Are you expecting to just be contending for a wild card spot? Are you saying this is a rebuild year and F it, just go for the tank? What are your expectations this season? By the way, the Heat don't tank.
First off, let me just congratulate Spo on becoming the Coach USA, the head coach for Team USA.
That's going to be big for them in the future.
I agree. That's where I wanted to get into, Danny, because I think that with Spo coaching Team USA and him coaching the players that are going to be on there, I mean, I'm not going to say that he's going to do some recruiting, but he will have some sort of
October 19th, 2025. Me and Solana say Anthony Edwards on his way to Miami.
Hey, I didn't want to say it. I'm going to let you say it, but I'm going to say, hey, it could happen. It could happen. There was pictures of them talking and stuff like that. So it could happen. But all right, talking about what I expect from the Heat this season. Look, the Heat last year, I don't know if you know this, but they had a historic late game drop off because they blew 22 double-digit leads last season, and they were 14 and 28 in the clutch. 22, Danny, 22.
I didn't realize it was 22.
So that's think
a quarter of the season. Jesus Christ. Okay.
That's what I'm saying. So I think here's what I think. The ceiling for this team is they're going to have a top 10 defense, an average offense. I think they'll have a very good or they're not going to drop off as much at the end of games like they did last season and lose 22 double-digit leads. And I think they'll be middle of the seed. But it's a team that nobody's going to want to play in the playoffs, right? And that's what we always say about Eric Spoelstra's teams is that it doesn't matter what seed they end up in. It's a team that you never want to face in the playoffs. Now, here's the issue. If the late game offense continues to stall, right, and they can't get the correct spacing before Hero's back, it's going to be a rough season because if you start off in those first 20 games, 4-16, 5-15, it's going to be real rough. Well, I mean, I don't think the Heat ever tank, like you said.
No,
but I think, but I think
you tell Tyler Hero to take 2 or 3 months to come back. They'll make sure that he's more than ready to come back.
Absolutely. So, look, I think this team is more of the former rather than the latter. But anything can happen, and I think we talked about it in the last segment. Those first 20 games. While I'm happy about them, and you're upset and think that it's going to be brutal, I think they're going to tell us everything we need to know about this team for this season.
I agree. I think after the first 20 games, we'll know, okay, this team is a contender. This team is going to not make the playoffs probably, or this team is going to be middle of the pack, but it's going to be fun to watch because defensively they can put up a fight with anybody. And I think we'll know that at the end of November 29th. That's the day. That's the 20th game. We'll more or less know what this team is. Expectations. I think that the expectation is that this team is fighting for a top 6 finish. I think that they are no longer going to be a play-in team. The East is weak. And I think if the East wasn't as weak as it is, I think more people would be discouraged about this Heat team. But because it feels like it's wide open outside of the Knicks probably being the best team in the East, everybody's like, why can't we finish top 4? Like the rest of the East sucks. So I think that I think we can finish top 6. I think Norman Powell will be getting the ball a lot in those clutch minutes. And I've loved what I've seen from Norman Powell in the preseason so far. The way he kind of sets himself, no matter how his feet are positioned, he gets his shoulders lined up to the rim, no matter what angle he's in to take those jump shots. Norman Powell, to me, has been such a joy to watch, and one that I didn't think, because everybody's like, oh, yeah, Norman Powell should have been an all-star last year. I was like, yeah, sure. But now when I'm watching him, I'm like, man, this guy's pretty freaking good. And if you have three 20-point scores on your team, you should be at least a middle of the pack Eastern Conference playoff team. And that's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting finish anywhere between 4th and 6th. And I don't even know what teams in the East will end up 2nd and 3rd, maybe Orlando or something like that. But I do think that this team should be 4th to 6th if they could stay healthy after Tyler comes back. And I think you just figure out this spacing, because I do think it's going to be a little clunky with Khalil Ware and Bam Adebayo for a while.
Absolutely. And look, there's a lot of there's a lot of good teams in the East. You know, you got the Cavs, you got the Knicks.
The Cavs.
You have
God,
you
nobody
got the
takes that team seriously, though.
You got the Pistons, you got the Bucks. Look, I know they're not the sexiest names, right? They're not the sexiest names. It's not the Celtics. You know, it's not the 76ers who, you know, had very good years, but you know, the Magic are in there. The Raptors could have a good comeback year. Watch out for the Hornets, who are improving. So I think it's going to be a tough year, but I agree with you, Danny. I think this team will be fighting for a top 6 seed, and possibly sneaking into you know, home court advantage for the first round of the playoffs, if they can figure it out, you know, early enough in the season, and then maintain that consistency throughout the rest of the season.
I agree. And if things aren't going their way when it comes to the trade deadline, I think you might see Andrew Wiggins shipped off. I don't think Terry Rozier makes it to the end of the season. And I think Norman Powell might also be a trade asset once the trade deadline comes, if the Heat feel like they are more or less out of it. But we don't want to, like you said, we don't want to think that way. I think that this team will be competitive all the way through, but the first 20 games will be the most telling. All right. Solana, that does it for our first episode season preview. Let everybody know. Well, give me your final thoughts.
Final thoughts, man. I'm glad we're back, man. I'm glad we're back. I love talking Heat. Like we mentioned, I've been a season ticket holder for 20 plus years. My family is engulfed with Heat culture, so I'm glad that we're back with the Battered Heat Fans. And guys, don't forget to like and subscribe to Battered Fans. Don't forget to check out batteredfans.com. Don't forget to just put some comments in there. Let's talk. You know, I'll get back to you. We'll check this out. Let's do it, man. I'm ready for the Heat season.
Yeah, man, I'm excited for it also. I wanted to go for the opening night like I did last year when they unveiled Pat Riley's court, right? But no, it's going against the Knicks, man. Those tickets are so hard, one, to find, and two, when you do find them, they're overpriced. So I guess I'll have to hold off to the second game against Charlotte. All right. If you're listening on audio, appreciate you listening to the end. Please leave us 5 stars, comment, review, all your stuff. And if you're watching on YouTube, like Solana said, like and subscribe. And we will be back after the first game. So until the next one, have a good one.
Let's go Heat.